Afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good people. Thank you so much for joining me for my very first strong or safe conversation. And I have my very first guest here with me this evening, Miss Julia J. Banks. I am so excited to have her here. And if you have never come across Miss Julia J. Banks, you are in for a treat. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. So I'm going to give just a quick background on Miss Julia. First of all, Miss Julia gave me my very first platform to be able to speak on. She runs an LLC called She's Awakened, and in her path to be able to try to help heal women across all areas that she comes into, she did just that. She was able to find people that she was able to see their strength within them and just give them a platform to be able to come into themselves. So I am so thankful for having that opportunity. So nothing else would have been better than to have her as my very first guest. So again, Julia J. Banks, she runs She's Awakened LLC. And She's Awakened is a platform for women to help heal. She is a soul coach. She is working with women to be able to help them go through certain wounds that need to be healed. We use the word soul coach instead of life coach, and I really love that because once we begin to heal, our soul begins to flourish and do the things that we need to do. So I'm going to let Miss Julia take over and give her story. And again, like my description says, there is going to be strong, encouraging language ahead. Please stick around.
Well, hi, hello, everyone. Thank you, Aisha. I so appreciate you for even having me come on.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's such a blessing to be able to come onto your platform and then to do the one thing that I love doing, and that's speaking to women.
Yes.
And so just talking a little bit about my story, or just what brought me to the place of even wanting to work with women. You know, I was abused very early. I experienced a lot of childhood trauma. I experienced, sexual abuse, neglect, things of that nature. And what I didn't realize was that those things had affected me. I didn't realize that the things that I experienced had really made an impact on my life. I mean, it left the imprint. And I didn't realize it. I started going to church. I started serving God. And I grew older, but I didn't really grow up because those areas of my soul, or those areas of my life that was broken, wasn't healed. But I thought I was healed. I thought I was okay. I thought I was doing good.
Mm-hmm.
I had my children. I started taking care of my family, and it's interesting that this conversation tonight about being strong, and that was one thing that, I always held fast to, was being strong. It was, I felt like, my mother was strong. You saw other women that were strong, or that you thought was strong, based on where you were, right? Because in the trauma that I went through, and looking around at the different women also going through their own trauma, but I didn't know it was trauma.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that that's just normal, and they strong, and they struggling, and they're dealing with life, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
And so when I started having my children, I just felt like I just needed to be strong, right? I needed to know how to do this and do it by myself.
Right.
Because when you're strong, you don't need nobody.
Right.
When you're strong, you don't need nobody. You got to be able to have it under control.
Yes.
You can't go to people and ask anybody for help, because you got to be able to handle this. And I was crumbling, but I didn't really go to anyone for help.
Wow.
Because I was supposed to have this.
Yes.
I knew what I was doing, and I didn't. But I thought I did. And one time I tell this story that there was a woman in my church that came to me, and she said, Julia, I feel like the Lord want me to be your godmother, and to help you and encourage you, support you. And I looked at that woman like, what? Psst, I don't need no godmother. Right. What are you talking about? You're bugging. You just want to be in my business. But I don't need a godmother, because I felt like I was too old.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, right? She saw that I was struggling. She saw that I needed help. She saw that I had those children and didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so when she came to me and said that, she was really saying, can I help you? But I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
What I heard was somebody else trying to get in my business. Somebody else don't care about me. Somebody else just want to tell me what to do and try to run my life.
Yeah.
And I got this.
And you're already in survival mode at that point.
Absolutely.
And it's fight or flight, and you were fighting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was fighting every step of the way. Every step of the way. And it wasn't until a few years ago. Now, Aisha, I must have been in my 20s. I am almost 50.
Yeah.
And it was a few years ago when it dawned on me, she was really trying to help you.
Yes.
She was really trying to come alongside you, mentor you, tutor you, or whatever we want to call it, right? But to kind of help me in the area of parenting my children and help me. I was struggling. And I didn't even realize it. I was drowning. And here comes someone with a lifeboat to say, okay, let me help you. And I'm saying, no, I don't need your help.
Right.
I can do this. I got this.
I'll tread this water some more.
Right.
Instead of getting in your boat.
Absolutely. I can do this. I don't need nobody to help me. Because to say that I needed help would mean that I was weak.
Yeah. Yes. Miss Julia, I want to interrupt. You said a very powerful word at the very beginning. Make sure you're sharing this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody that's here, I'm just going to do a wave like that. Miss Julia, at the very beginning, you used the word imprint. That some of the experiences you went through in your life imprinted on you. When we use the word imprint means to stamp, to brand. So you are being left with a very serious scar. Even when you look at chattel and cattle, and even us as slaves, we had to be imprinted upon. So you did not forget who you belong to. And when that pain was imprinted upon you, it was almost like the pain was telling you, you belong to me.
Absolutely. That's exactly what the pain was doing.
And then for you to be able to say, no, I want to heal from this scar, even though I can maybe still see this scar, I want to get past this. That's a move right there.
Right.
How did you move through that?
Okay, I have to say that was a move, and it took years before I got to the place. Now, mind you, I sat in church. I was faithful in church.
Girl,
listen, if they choir, Sunday school, missionary meeting, children's choir, whatever they had, revivals, all night prayer, all night shut-in, I was there.
Amen.
I was there.
But not there.
Paying tithes, I was there. Offerings, if I didn't have it, I got it. My mama gave me some money one time and said, hold this for me. When she came back, I told her I didn't have it because I put it in the offering.
Okay, girl, you were sowing that seed.
Yes.
Being a good servant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I thought that this was going to do it.
Yeah.
This was going to get me out. Right? And so it wasn't until many years later that actually I met a woman that challenged me.
Okay. What was the challenge?
The challenge was more so she was doing a teaching on forgiveness.
Okay.
And she was challenging us to forgive. I'm like, forgive? First of all, I was living in New Jersey. That challenge happened when I moved here. And Sister Chris.
Yo, that's her favorite F word, the forgiveness word. Yes.
You know, so we know Sister Chris. And so she was teaching on forgiveness. I came here because I was angry. I came here because certain things went down in Jersey that had pissed me off, and I was furious, and I was angry, and I felt like I was alone. And so I came here as a result of the things that I went through there. So I get here, and in her Sunday school, she's teaching on forgiveness, teaching on forgiveness. I'm like, this lady got an issue, because I don't want to keep hearing this forgiveness thing. I don't even know if this is part of the lesson.
Right.
You know, because every time I turn around, this is what she's talking. And so then one day, it hit me. I was getting up. I had this habit of, I don't have it no more, but I used to have this habit of laying on the floor. Something about laying on the floor I just love to do. So this day I was laying on the floor, and when I got ready to get up, it felt like the weight of everything had laid on me.
Wow.
And I went to get up on the floor, and it was like that thing, like you said, the imprint said, I own you, right? It was like that thing weighed on me and said, you're not going nowhere. And everything just hit me, and I fell back to the floor.
Wow.
And I laid there and just cried. And I just cried. And then I realized, okay, there's something going on here. There's something going on. So I worked on that main issue of forgiveness for what had happened to me in Jersey, forgiving those people. Then it was years later still, because I wasn't consistent. I didn't want to really deal with this. I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
I got bills to pay. I got children to take care of. I got to find a place. I got things I got to do, and I don't have time for this. You know, and it wasn't until years later that God kept challenging me. I'm teaching groups. I'm facilitating in these groups, and now I'm talking to these women, and I'm talking about healing, and I'm talking to them, and the word is ministering to me.
Right.
And it's coming back to me, and it's coming back to me. But the real thing was, I would say, was when the kids had moved out. I'm in my apartment. They're grown now. Everybody's on their own, and I am in this house alone. And one day, I just broke down crying. Because all of a sudden, I feel alone. You know, because the responsibility I had is gone.
Yeah.
I don't have them to distract me.
Right.
And so, and I'm sitting here, now I'm alone. And I just break down and start crying. And when I begin to break down and start crying, I'm saying, God, why do everyone leave me? And then it's like, I realized, okay, the kids didn't leave me. What is this about? Then the tears started flowing, and I'm talking about my dad leaving me. I'm talking about my mom leaving me. And all this pain just started flooding me and coming up.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I got to go get me a counselor. And I began to do that, and I began to get a coach, and I began to talk about it and work through those things. But that's what really brought me. I would say, even though when I first got here, I think that was just maybe the little icebreaker.
Yeah.
You know, but that experience, that moment when everyone was gone, and I'm in this place alone, that was when it hit me.
Yes.
And then all the pain began to flood. And I had to really look at those things. And then I began to see how much that stuff had hindered me.
Yes. So when you go into this place of forgiveness and you ask God to truly work on your heart, you begin to realize how much hurt you're hoarding in your heart.
Yes.
So when you begin your forgiveness journey, regardless of if you are practicing Christianity, Hinduism, whatever, when you begin to practice forgiveness, we think we're doing something good when we just hit the surface stuff. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Let me forgive you real quick. But when we start to really dig into that forgiveness, it gets harder and harder with every person that we forgive. So when you were at that moment when you felt like the kids had left you, because we use the word alone a lot when we truly aren't alone, we've just built that wall around ourselves that many people can't get over. When we begin to start to forgive people, it starts to pull stuff out of us that we didn't even know. I remember going through that hoarding phase, and I knew there was something else there, and I'm sure there's other people there that I have to forgive, but I had to forgive my dad. And I was telling you on Sunday, and Daddy, if you're watching, you know I love you. You and I have went through this before. And I listened to him talk to me about this young woman that he was seeing that was my age. And y'all know I'm going to give and he asked me to help her with her financially, same age kids. And he says to me, well, she's a young single mom. And I said, Daddy, I'm the same age and I got 2 kids too. You've never done anything for me like this. And he says, well, I know you cut from a different cloth. You'll figure it out. And when he did that, something in me broke, and I realized how angry I was with him. And I didn't even know I was angry with my dad. And I can talk about it now without being upset, because I've forgiven him. I wrote him a forgiveness letter via Sister Chris, because she will get you on that forgiveness. But I said to him, I felt like when I was a child, you dropped the ball on not only me, but on my mother. You were supposed to be her husband, and you didn't cover her. And I never knew I was angry about that.
Yeah.
So when you go through that forgiveness, you go through that forgiveness. And that is tough.
Yes, it is.
It's scary, too.
It is, because imagine I'm in this house, and all of a sudden, I mean, the weight just falls on me and I'm in tears.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, why do everyone leave me?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I'm remembering my dad leaving me in the car while he went to do whatever he was doing for hours at a time, right? And I remember being left in the home with my siblings because my mom was going through her addiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remembered all of that. But see, that was stuff that I just stuffed away and moved forward. I didn't think that was an issue.
Yeah.
I didn't think that I was hurt or angry or upset about it. It was life. You deal with life, you move forward, right? When things happen, you just move forward. At least that's what I thought I was doing. But I come to realize that we may move, but that stuff just moved with us.
Yeah, it does.
Right? That pain just came. At the age of 20, it was there. At the age of 30, it was there. At the age of 40, it was there. I had to deal with those things.
Yeah.
In order for them not to continue to follow me and then affect me in all of my other relationships.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how do you think your non-forgiveness before you started going through that affected your relationships? Not just intimate relationships, but relationships with your friends, with people at church, with your family. How did it affect you?
Well, this is my belief. I believe that what you don't forgive, what you don't forgive, you have the possibility to become.
Explain that further to me.
Okay,
Give it to me.
Because I was holding so much stuff against my parents and not even really willing to even deal with the pain, for whatever reason, I ended up doing certain things the exact same way. Listen, my pain, my anger, I hadn't accepted. I just stuffed it.
Yeah.
I just
Miss
stuffed
Melissa.
it. I didn't deal with it. I just stuffed it as if it wasn't a problem. It's not a big deal. So if I stuff it and tell myself that it's not a problem, it's not a big deal, then I don't see the harm in what it was that they really did.
Yeah.
If I don't see the harm in it, then I can end up potentially doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
I refuse to see that, that what was done was really harmful.
Yeah.
So I will leave my daughter with my niece and just leave her there in the house and go out.
Okay.
And go here and go there. Because listen, I turned out okay, so then she's gonna be okay.
Right.
But I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
But I wasn't okay. So it affected me in that way. It affected me because, again, I wouldn't allow people that wanted to come and help me to help me because I couldn't see that I needed the help.
Right.
Because what we do a lot of times, again, is I'm okay. I'm good. I'm strong. I got this. And so if I don't allow myself to go to that place of being hurt and allow myself to go to that place of being vulnerable, then I can't heal the thing that's hurting me, and I won't let anybody in to help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it affected me in that way. It affected me because I didn't trust nobody.
Right. Not even yourself, right?
Oh, please, I didn't trust nobody.
Okay.
Well, I felt like I was the only one in the world that could be trusted. I felt like I was the only one in the world that could be trusted. But once I dug some more, I realized I didn't even trust me.
Right.
And that was the real problem. But you don't know that at the surface.
Yeah.
You realize that once you get to the root. I had to dig down deep before I realized, no, Julia, it's you. It's you. But no, I couldn't trust nobody. I had one friend, I love her so much, and she said, Julia, I just feel like if I do something, that you're never ever gonna talk to me again.
It's a wrap for this relationship.
Right.
So people are walking on eggshells around you. And
Absolutely.
that's not true relation.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And so I didn't know how to be a friend. Because again, when we're trying to be strong, we're not really being good friends. Because if I'm being a good friend, you know what? And this relationship is reciprocal, right? Then I'm being vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
But I only trust you to be vulnerable with me because
Right.
I don't trust you. But then I'm saying we friends.
Yeah.
Right? And so how is that making you feel knowing that I don't trust you enough to be vulnerable with you?
Yeah. What makes me so good that you can do that with me, but I'm not going to do that with you?
Right.
That's an insult.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's an
But I
insult.
didn't realize that. I
Yeah.
thought like that was an honor.
Yeah. You don't have to put up with my mess.
Right. Right. I felt like that was an honor. You know, but it wasn't. Because I had friends that would say, Julia, I'm here for you. I don't understand why you don't trust that I'm here for you.
Right.
You let me come and dump all this stuff on you, but you don't trust me enough to have you do that to me.
Right. Wow.
And you know what I told myself? They got problems. I know what's wrong with them.
Right. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
Why they were, again, oh my God, I don't know what this thing is, y'all, right? With why we always worried about somebody trying to be in our business. Right? Because I don't think that we have that much going on, right, in our lives that people just want to know.
Right.
Right?
Right,
You know,
right.
But in my head, that's what they just want to know my business. They just want to know. And I think part of that comes from, you know what they tell us when we're a child, right? What goes on in this house, stay in this
Yes.
house. Don't you go out there telling nobody my business.
Airing our dirty laundry.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't you do that. So I felt like everybody was coming in trying to know my business. I wouldn't tell nobody my business. Look, y'all can see I can't pay my bills. Y'all can see that I'm sleeping on people's
Right,
floors.
right.
Y'all can see that I'm going from house to house and shelter to shelter. So my business is out there.
Wow.
What else do I got to hide?
Yeah. And then that's a distrust. I had somebody upset with me one time thinking I was going to do X, Y, and Z to her when in all actuality, I definitely would not. But then I realized later on, it's not that she thought I was going to do it, but she knew she would have been the type of person to do that to me. So it was very tough because at that point I was learning to forgive. So you're starting to see things clearer. And you're like, oh, my vision is not clouded by distrust for people and keeping up these barriers and things like that. Once the walls come down, people can really see you for who you are.
Right.
And they're like, oh, you're funny too.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm funny too. So it's definitely different and difficult to be vulnerable with people.
It is.
It is.
To be vulnerable with yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just remove people from the equation, but to be vulnerable with ourselves, to tell myself that I was really in this much pain, that I was in so much pain that I wanted to commit suicide.
Wow.
To be honest with myself. I mean, that took a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I realized that once I was able to be vulnerable with me, being vulnerable with another person came easy.
Yeah.
But I had to be able to acknowledge to myself, listen, I didn't even want to acknowledge that I liked somebody or loved them. Are you serious?
Yeah.
No. Whatever I had to do to not let them know that I really care was important.
Yeah.
I had to keep that facade up.
Wow. That's a gateway to pain when you let somebody know when you're in that.
And so I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. This is how I protect myself.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes work to be vulnerable, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary to first be vulnerable with ourselves, to be able to admit to ourselves, you know what, I am hurting.
Yeah.
I really do feel this pain. You know, that this is hurting me, and to accept, you know, that yes, I'm hurting, you know, and I can be strong still, right? Because I found out that being strong isn't acting as if I got it together.
Yeah.
But to be strong really is to be vulnerable.
Yeah. You're right. You're
It's to be
absolutely right.
It's to say that, you know what, I'm hurting, and what you did hurt me.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, we live in a society where sometimes people will take advantage of that, but shame on them, right? I feel like this, just because you can't, or you look at my vulnerability as a weakness, then that's your issue. That's not mine.
Yeah.
That's not mine. Shame on you. You know, but that's not at this stage in my life, that's not going to stop me from being vulnerable.
Amen.
I never forget, I dated a guy some years ago, and he said to me,
Hey, Raquel.
he said, it doesn't matter how a person feel, you ought to always express or talk about what you feel. So if you love me, or if I love you, this is what he's saying, if I love you, I should be okay with telling you that, even if you don't love me back.
So the I statements.
Right.
The I statements just allow people, it sets up your boundaries too. You let people know that this is how I want to be treated, and that's a part of vulnerability.
Right.
Because you can no longer be scared that this person's going to get upset.
Right.
Because they may be a sociopath. That's my favorite word to use with people. And try to treat you like crap. They really might try to do that, and if you allow them to, that's exactly what they're going to do. So when you start setting up them I statements, people have to start saying, I'm either going to go with her I statements, or I'm going to get to walking.
That's it.
I'm going to get to moving.
That's
Hey, Tasha.
That's it.
So
yeah, and a lot of times when we don't want, especially when it comes down to relationships, we don't want to put that out there, because if we put that out there, then, you know, that means that we may lose them. So I don't want to really tell them how I feel, or I'm not putting my heart out there again because I got hurt the last time, so I'm not going to do it again this time. There's so many different reasons why we choose not to be vulnerable, you know, but I feel like, you know what, I can tell you I love you, I tell you I miss you, you don't feel that way, that's fine. This is how I feel. And if that scares you, then you have to go, then goodbye. But because I have to honor how I feel. Because when I think about all the times as a child, right, going through different things, I felt like I was never heard. I didn't honor how I felt because I couldn't. And everyone around me in different ways dishonored how I felt. Right? And so they dishonored how I felt. And so then I dishonored how I felt because I wasn't honest about how I felt. And each time I wasn't honest about how I felt, then I was dishonoring me. And so me saying that this, or telling you that this is how I feel, and you saying, well, that's not where I am and this is too much for you, then God bless you.
Amen.
And but I can't walk away with, I don't walk away with regret and say, okay, oh wow, I should have never told them. Now I used to when I wasn't healed. But now it's like, you know what? It's okay. Because the person that comes the time is going to come when we're going to be right there at the same page, right? And so then I don't have to worry about wasting my time with somebody that don't feel how I feel.
And that's men and women.
Right.
Not just our intimate relationships, but with our friendships and our people at our church and those that we love, and even kids. We got to teach them, because some kids will try to play you. You know that your stories you tell about your grandbabies, them grandbabies be trying to play you. But we even have to teach them how to treat us.
We do. And how to treat themselves. How to treat themselves and to honor how they feel. I know my daughter say, and she'll probably be watching this, and she say, you know what, Ma? Now you always talking about letting him, you know, express how he feel. You never let me express how I felt. If I expressed how I felt, I was gonna get in trouble. And I get that. And she right. However, I learned. Now I understand that what I did then was wrong. I did that the wrong way. I did it based on what I saw, but it wasn't right. And so now I realize, you know what? Yes, he may be 9, and this is how he feel, but teach him how to express how he feel, so that he's comfortable talking about how he feels.
Respectfully, too. They can do that. They can do that.
But they have to be taught, because when we don't allow them to honor how they feel, then we put them in a position to be dishonored. And then to dishonor others. Because if I can care about, once I care about how I feel, then I care about how you feel.
And being dishonored makes you be dishonest.
Absolutely.
When you're going out here with people.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Because if I don't honor if I dishonor how I feel, then I'm going to be dishonest with you, because I don't want you to know how I really feel. So I'm going to lie, and I'm going to play these games, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, because I don't want you to know how I really feel. So I'm not showing up as my best self.
And it also begs the question, why don't you honor your own feelings enough to be honest about them? If you don't like X, Y, and Z, say to me, I don't like that. And I will tell people right up front, if I'm doing something you don't like, let me know. Because if you don't tell me, I'm just going to keep doing it because I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. And I'm pretty approachable, you're pretty approachable. So if I say to you, Julia, I don't like X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to come to you nasty like, oh my God, girl. I'm going to talk to you as my friend, and we can get through that because I'm honest, you're honest, we're friends, and we're sisters. So we have to be able to be honest with other people. That way our relationships are honest. Even if you don't like it sometimes, let it be honest.
And we say we want that. We say, I just want sisters that, you know, I can be my true self with. I just want sisters, you know, that I can be honest with. And, you know, I just want people that's going to be honest with me. But are you honest with yourself? Right? Because that's the thing, right? Because I always said that, you know, that's what I want. But then when I look back, I wasn't honest with me. I didn't even know what I wanted for me. To say, I need you to be honest. Was I being honest? And I wasn't.
So how do you expect an honest relationship if it's already started off of this? off of fear.
Right.
It comes right back around to being
Right.
fearful.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Absolutely.
Wow.
And that's what we do, and we post it all the time. You know, we do. We post that stuff all the time about, this is the kind of relationship we want. And I want to be a part of a women's group. That's this and that's that. But the reality of it is, are we that to ourselves?
Yeah. To be able to be a part of that.
Am I bringing that? If I'm still hiding, if I can't tell you that what you said hurt me, right? If I can't say that when you said that hurt me, then am I really being honest?
Right. And if you come across somebody that does tell you how they feel and you feel combative, then you're not being honest. You absolutely are not being honest, because that's not what a true relationship is. If somebody comes to you and they come to you out of the goodness of their heart saying, I don't like this, and you want to get all nasty and rude, let it go.
Right.
Let it go. You don't need that kind of nonsense, because they're being dishonest with you, and that is why they're being so combative. It's fight or flight. And so instead of doing all that, just be cool.
Right.
I want our friendship to grow, so I'm letting you know so we can go forward.
Especially if the person is... I just had to have this conversation the other day.
Hey, Melly.
Because something was said and it had hurt me, but I didn't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, oh, well, I'm never going to say anything to this person again.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on about my business, but it affected me. And I didn't realize. So I thought that I was still interacting with this person, my regular self, and I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, and I had a conversation with God, just riding in my car, and I'm like, God, I don't know why I feel. And when I said that, I said, I don't know why I feel choked. And the Lord told me why. He brought that conversation back up, and I said,
mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that I was still upset about that. And so I immediately went to this person because I love them. And for whatever reason, I felt like in the moment I couldn't say anything. And it wasn't because of them, it was because of me.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything. So I immediately went back to the person and said, listen, when this was said, this is how it made me feel. And they immediately was apologetic and said, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't mean it that way. And I knew they didn't, but it just made me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But I needed to go back to them and say, listen, this is how I felt. And let me tell you, when I did that, I felt such a release on me, because again, I love them. They love me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. And I know that they wouldn't do something to hurt me. But what it did was when they said...
Monica.
When they said what they said, what it did was it triggered something that happened back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me right back to that place. So I just said, okay, I'm going to deal with this the way I deal with everything else. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just moving on. I'm just going to push it to the side and keep moving. But it was affecting me.
Yeah.
And I needed to go back to them so that we can walk in honesty and walk in love. And honor that relationship. Because if I didn't go to her, then I was dishonoring her and dishonoring me. Because now I'm holding something against her, and that wasn't right.
Yeah.
I needed to go to her and talk to her. When people genuinely care about you, they're not going to brush it off and disregard how you feel. They're going to have a conversation with you. And maybe I shouldn't say if they genuinely care, but if they're in a place of maturity and wholeness enough to be able to hear what you're saying and not take it defensively, because she was able to hear what I said and immediately apologize, and our relationship was able to be reconciled. And that meant more to me than anything, because that's what I really wanted. But I needed to be able to be vulnerable and say, this is how that made me feel.
And without being, combative or aggressive. None of that. You just were like, this is what's going on.
And I had to fight. I had to fight all of that stuff, because once we're triggered in different ways. And so once that happened, now every time they said something, it felt like they was hitting me. I'm like, oh, what?
I just said hi.
What did she say? Like, oh, she coming for me? Is that what she doing? You know what I'm saying? And so I had to literally just get within myself, do some meditation, do some prayer, do some worship, and just be like, you know, to center myself and to center my emotions, to get some clarity there. Because that stuff was coming at me. And I'm like, wait a minute, devil, you's a liar. Wait a minute, stop. You know, because I needed to be able to just get in touch with what I was feeling. I had a boss, Denise Cokes, I love her. And she said to me, she used to always say to me, Julia, it's important for you to stick, when you're talking about your feelings, stick with the facts.
Yeah.
Stick with the facts. Because you'll get out there and all this other stuff, and that has nothing to do with it, right? And so she said, stick with the facts. And so that's what I did. When I centered myself, I focused on what was fact. What was fact was what was said. That was fact. How I felt was fact. That was all I needed to say. Not going to, and then you did this, and then you did, I don't know how you felt when what you said, but I can tell you how I felt.
Yes.
And that, you know, those were two things that was fact. And that's what I went in that meeting with. And it was great. And I thank God for being able to do that. And I also thank God for being able to honor and appreciate the relationships that I have in my life today. You know, I appreciate that because I didn't always do that.
Yeah.
Because I was hurt. And I just felt like everybody else that came in was going to hurt me.
Yes.
Everybody was going to hurt me. Everybody was going to disown me. They was going to throw me to the side as if I didn't matter. And I didn't want to be thrown to the side. I didn't want that to happen again, so I protected myself. And so now I realize that it's okay because there are people that do love me.
Yeah.
I mean, that genuinely love me, that genuinely care about how I'm doing.
Yes.
You know, that genuinely want to come alongside and help me, but I didn't realize that before. And so I want to make sure that I hold on to those relationships that God sent for the time that He sent them.
Yes. I want us to take a look at the phrase that you just used, come alongside. Come alongside means to partner with, not somebody trying to tell you what to do, not somebody trying to do everything for you, but come alongside you is somebody that partners with you, mentors you, teaches you. I have had, since I've lived in Schenectady, so many women, including Miss Julia, because I don't want to use the word randomly met because God isn't a random God. She came to my church for our back to school program or back to school block party a few years ago with Sister Chris, and she was outside doing a prayer circle and I was inside giving out school supplies and praying with people, and we just got along. She had her shirt on that showed what she was, and my first impression of Miss Julia was like, oh, she's such a pretty woman, because her hair was all up and she's beautiful right now too, but I really liked your hair that day. I can still remember the style, and she had her shirt on with her logo, and I was like, what is this about? And so we began to chat, and she was praying with people, and we just had such a good connection. And over these years, we've had months that have gone between sometimes, but we always get right back on. So I always love sitting with Miss Julia because her story is very powerful. Miss Julia, now that you've gone through this process of forgiving, and process of forgiving is a never-ending thing.
Right.
It's always going. There's always something that we have to forgive and push past. And forgiveness is for us. It's not for other people. It's for us. How do you feel as though you relate to people now because of that? You work on forgiveness. You're being more vulnerable with people. You're able to honor yourself, be honest with yourself, and look for people to do the same for you. How do you feel? How do you give that out to people so they know?
How do I give that out to people so that they know that I forgive them, or
like that who you are? How do you set your boundaries so people are doing for you? Like, I know we don't give out a pamphlet to people this is the instructions to me. I feel like I do that sometimes, but I want you to know you can't do certain things with me. So how do you feel like you do that?
I think the way I do it is just naturally.
Okay.
Like we may say, well, what are some deal breakers? And then I'll let them know that.
Okay.
Or if something happens and they do that, and I say, okay, why did you do that? Like, well, what is this about?
Okay.
You know, and then they may learn then that that's how it goes.
Okay.
But it just comes naturally. And if something comes up that maybe I didn't say to them, then I'll say, okay, you know, like, that's going to be an issue for me, you know. Like, why did you do that? You know, I have to be able to trust you, or, you know, something like that. But usually it just comes naturally, and it, you know, it depends on whatever the situation is and how it comes up. I'll bring it up that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you said earlier that you are almost 50, which we would never know, but you brought it up yourself, so here I am saying it again. But here's my thing. There are women that are younger than you, myself included. There's women that are older than you that still don't know how to forgive and do that. If you were to meet someone and you felt this way, how would you allow yourself to come alongside them if they were willing to?
Okay.
Because again, you and I both know, we see people and we're like, why are you trying to be in my business? That's how we used to be. How do you get them to be and used to be like that more?
It depends on how we meet. And like a lot of times I talk with people online.
Okay.
And sometimes it can just be because they made a statement or something, or they commented to something that I posted, and I may start talking to them then. I'm very open, you know, and so I may go in their inbox and say, hey, you know, I saw what you posted. Is everything okay? You know, and do it that way. Or I say, can we get together? Like one woman, I asked her, hey, let's get together and have some coffee. I don't know. I didn't know if I'm Adam. We went out. I met with her in Albany. We sat and had coffee and talked. Come to find out, she knows somebody that I know that told her she needs to connect with me.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all. But I think it was something she said, and we just started talking, and it just went on from there. If it's someone that I see, you know, offline, I may say, you know, I'm open. Hey, how you doing? How's things going? If I see something going on because they said something, you know, and I may say, you know, I may compliment them first. I don't know. I don't have but I try to get it in. If I can get an in, and whatever that in is, then we'll take it from there. Usually, some of the women will start talking to me because I'm open. Because I'm open. You know, I'll talk online. Somebody said to me one time, they said, you know, you share a lot of stuff online. I'm open. I'm not, I used to be afraid of people knowing this is my truth. This is who I am. This is what I've been through. And I know that I can't help someone if I don't tell it. So because I'm really open, people usually come to me. If they don't right away, then eventually they like warm up to me after they're around me for a while. Like that day when I met you. But see, your personality is already bubbly and open and energetic and welcoming. And so because of your personality being that way, it was easy for me to connect to you. You wasn't standing around looking like who she thinks she is. Why is she here? You know what I'm saying? I've you know, no, it wasn't like that. And then I was telling you about an event I was getting ready to have. You came to the job to meet with me. We talked about it. Then you was at the event helping me give out the awards and all of that. But that's your personality. But for the most part, that's what I do. I try to find an end. You know, I may pray about it a little bit. You know, it just depends. And if it's something that's happening right then in that moment, I'm going to come over and I'm going to say, you know, hey, is everything okay? You know, is everything all right? You know, and do it like that. And maybe that'll be a way in. It just depends on the situation.
So I will tell you, I'll be honest with you, Miss Julia. When I first met you, I knew what type of personality you had, and I tend to gravitate towards people like you, because people like you said my personality is so energetic, so bubbly. People tend to think that it's phony, and it's really not. This is just who I am. But people like you are who I try to be more like, because you have that, I'm going to use the word, the S word, that strongness about them that I know if I needed to reach out to you for help, you could. And you even saw me when I don't think anybody else saw me, and you called me and you put me to shame. That I cried for the rest of the afternoon after talking to you that day, and I thank God for putting me on your heart that day. I closed all my windows. So I'm gonna give you all the backstory.
But it wasn't shame.
It wasn't shame, not at all. Miss Julia called me one day. She said, Aisha, I'm gonna call you on Saturday because I need to go over, you know, something. And she and I talk about things like that, and we never talked about it. I think we talked about it for 10 seconds. But what she really did was talk to me about what God had spoke to her about me, and that I needed to rest and restore and really start to water my own garden instead of watering everybody else's, because that's what I tend to do. And I just cried and cried and cried. And I thank God that she was able to do that. I thank God that you have the spirit of discernment to be able to hear him and give that out to people. So I'm so glad to have you here today. I'm going to give another shout out about everything. Thank you, everybody that's been watching. This has been awesome. Everybody that's been listening to us in your car. Thank you, Miss Melissa. I want to have Miss Julia on again.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so I already have a second guest lined up, but I want to bring Miss Julia back. I think me and you will probably meet again, like within the next week, because I feel like this has been phenomenal.
Great.
This has been so great. Guys, I'm going to let you know, Julia J. Banks is on Facebook. She's on my page. She's Awakened. And she's also written a book. So I'm not only sitting here talking with a friend, I'm talking to an author. Thank you very much. Her book is called Awaken.
Prayer, Purpose, and Power.
Yes. And what I want to talk about the next time we're on is soul wounds and relationships. I know we really went in today, but I really want us to talk about that. I think that will be powerful.
Yes.
I think I might even open this up for people to bring questions to me that I can present online, or if you're okay with that.
Great.
So guys, I'm going to close this live up, because me and Miss Julia will really be here until tomorrow just chatting. So we'll close this up. Thank you so much for everyone that joined in. I'm going to actually log this up to my YouTube page, A Safe Space for the Strong. And Miss Julia, give your YouTube shout out, or your IG, however you want to give.
But I'm on Instagram under Julia J. Banks, and also Soul Restoration Coaching with Julia. You can follow me on Instagram and on Facebook.
Thank you so much, Miss Julia. Again, if you are looking to ask questions or even be interested in being one of my, somebody that I have a safe conversation with, you can absolutely email me at safespaceaew@gmail.com, or you can DM me at Aisha E. White, or you can IG me at homegirl_ish. Thank you, everybody that just came on. Hi, Bree. I haven't seen you so long. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great rest of your evening.